ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 20 of Balls Breakdown Podcast with Mike and Matthew. Today we have two wonderful guests with us. We have Emma Woodcock and Matthew Woodcock. Welcome to the podcast, both.
Hi, guys. Thanks.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Obviously, we've been in talks of having you two on for a few weeks now, but someone gets really busy with a load of competition, so we've had to wait till the season has come to an end. But no, again, thank you for coming on. I know we're going to have a good chat about everything, and things have gone on this year. But obviously, how we start every episode, where did bowls start for the both of you? Matt, we will start with you because we're going to probably have Emma talk a lot more than you today.
That's normal. No, bowls for me started in a club called St Fagans. My dad played for Grange and St Fagans. He was between the two clubs. And I used to go up St Fagans regularly and just literally, as you do as a young lad, small balls in my hand, roll up on the end rink. And it come to a Saturday Career Shield group game. And St Fagans were one short. And they knew about half hour before the game.
Yeah.
And Roy Greenslade, Jason's dad, rang my dad and said, "Can Matt play?" And he went, "What are you on about?" And he said, we found out half hour before we have not got a team.
Yeah.
And Roy said, "I'll pick him up." And that's how I started. I literally went that day.
How old were you then?
8. And I played my first Career Shield game.
First game, Career Shield.
For the club. 8 years of age, because the age limit got abolished that year.
Yeah.
And that was my first game, and then that was it. Played every single year.
Now up in, obviously, Dennis.
Yeah.
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 For now.
For now.
Don't mention the relegation.
Don't start.
No.
I've already planted the seed, don't worry.
So
I think
St
Dennis.
Fagans.
Yeah.
And what did you? How did that sort of progress from 8 years old, sort of thing? Talk us through it a bit, Matt.
From 8 years old, probably in about 2-3 years, I ended up skipping for St Fagans. I was probably one of their youngest skips to play with at the age probably 12, 13. But I think St Fagans was good for me because there was a lot of internationals that go on there. There was like Chris Blake, there was Jason Greenslade, there was Dave Harding, Neil Collett, a lot of big bowlers that played there. And it helped me because obviously playing with better bowlers, your game just improved week on week. And then I stayed there probably until about 99. And then it was an option for me to either move to the Vale of Glamorgan or stay in South Glamorgan. And South Glamorgan in them days were so strong.
Yeah.
There was like most of the international side was made up of South Glamorgan. They had so many internationals and it was hard to break in. So I got advised to move, and I did. I moved to the Vale of Glamorgan in that year, and then I ended up being selected Welsh under 25 straight away. I think probably for me personally, it was the best move I ever made. If I would have stayed where I was, I don't know if I would have got it. And I moved to Barry Plastics, and that's where I got my first international cap from.
I'm going to ask you a quick question here because that interests me a little bit. Obviously, we talk about it with some of our younger players. Is the club you play for holding you back a little bit? Like you said, obviously moving to a different club opens a couple of doors, but also can sometimes be a bit of a step back, if you will.
I think we got to think about what it was like then, and what it's like now, and
under different circumstances.
Different circumstances. Personally, I would have said the club I moved to at that time was probably more of a social club, but it was somewhere for me to move to progress because I was probably only there for a year or two, and I moved straight to Barry Athletic, which was probably one of the top clubs in the Vale. Yeah, playing with the likes of Jim Morgan, Russell Evans, Richard Bowen, Robert Organ. It was playing with decent players, and I was straight in combinations and everything. But I can see, yes, there is, I would say, certain part where a club can hold you back because straight away these days, and it's no disrespect to any youngster out there, no, but we're in a year or two, clubs are so weak, they move back to third and fourth skip, and you think to yourself, lead and second is where they're probably going to break into an international series.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think as we go through the podcast, I think we can come back to that point.
Yeah, we will.
Maybe from a male and a lady's perspective of.
We've talked about it before. We're no sucker to saying that people get pushed back too early, and we've mentioned it for a lot of them. After that, so when did you move to Dinis then?
The first
Well, I
or the
was gonna
second
say-
time?
Well, you went in once, left, and went back, did you?
It's probably a toss-up who's had more clubs, me or Neil Collett. I've been at Banny Athletic 3 times. I've been at Dinis. This now will be my 3rd time back. So I think I went from Banny Plastics to Banny Athletic. Then I moved from Banny Athletic to Dinis. Then I went back to Barry. Just no specific reason, but just because for me, I just found I had to be playing constantly at a level I wanted to play at that time. And sometimes I'd be playing 7-8 times a day. A week.
Yeah.
I'd be almost every day there. And then my dad fell ill with diabetes and he wanted to play in Penarth Windsor.
Yeah.
So I went and joined them. I spent probably a good 5 years there. And then it was like he packed in, so I went back to Barry. And then a couple of boys that I knew said, "Oh, come back to Dinis." And it just literally floated between the 2 clubs, even though I know the 2 clubs have a little bit of local rivalry.
Yeah.
But I've always gone on well with both sets from both clubs. And I would never say there wouldn't be a club I'd go to. But I think Dinis for me will be my last club.
Shame. Shame.
Hang on. The only one thing I want to touch on before we go over to Emma is Welsh under 25s.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the senior? Did you get a Welsh senior cup?
I had a few trials, but never.
Yeah. So Welsh under 25s outdoor?
Outdoor and indoor.
Indoor.
I think my first indoor was 2001, 2002. And my first outdoor was 99.
Okay.
The viewers can do the math to say.
And my maths is very good, so we will go there. I haven't got enough fingers. Hang on, what have you had? Okay, and over to Em. Where did it all begin for you, love?
Yeah, so mine really was my mum had a business. So Saturdays, my mum obviously had to go to work. There's me and my sister. So rather than the 2 of us go and be under my mum's hair, because obviously she was trying to serve petrol, serve sweets or whatever, one of us had to go with my dad. So I was the eldest. So it normally consisted of a Saturday was go to the pub for 12. We'd stay in the pub then, and then the guys would say, "Right, come on, Harry, we're off now, going to bowls." So that's what I did probably for about a season. Then as a youngster, I got to say, and I'm still like it now, I cannot watch for toffee. I sit there and I find bowls so boring. Unless I'm watching Matt, it's a little bit different, but I find it quite boring. So I think by the end of the first season, I was like, Dad, I need to play. I've got to play. Something's got to change. Well, because I'm quite old, back then you couldn't play. If you were 16 or under, that was it. So my dad had to go to the club, which is Knighton in Mid Wales, which is about half an hour north of Llandrindod. So if anyone knows where Aberystwyth is, if you draw a line across from the coast onto the border, that's where Knighton is. So he went to the AGM, put a proposition in, and they changed the rules. So then that meant I could play. So I absolutely loved it. You know, like Matt was saying, I was there every day. You know, when you're in school and you got the summer holidays and you want a little bit of a tan, what else is there to do but go and practice playing bowls? So that's all I did. And then
there's not much else in Knighton.
No, there's not, to be honest, either.
Only the pub.
Yeah, that's
stayed in
it,
the
the pub. So, continued to do that. I was lucky, like Matt, I guess, because it's my hometown, but my hometown also used to be, you know, a very strong club. I know when Emma Gittins was on, she was talking about how she joined Bury, and Bury at the time was strong. Well, at the time when I was 11 when I joined, Knighton was really, really strong. They had the current Welsh secretary who played for Wales, as well as about 5 other people that played for Wales, or people that had, or, you know, in previous times they'd played. So it was a really strong club, which gave me good guidance. You know, they obviously saw something in me, and there was, I think the year before, so the first year that I started, there was the first year of the under 25s. So they were like, well, this is now what you can aim for. You can aim to play the under 25s. So then the next year after that, which was the second year Wales ever were in it, they said, oh, we think you should go for a trial, which, to be fair to them, is really good, because sometimes you can be a member of a club, be good, and no one ever says, oh, there are other things you can do. You don't just have to play for your club. there's county, there's Welsh or whatever.
And that probably at that time, I don't want to go into your age at all, but for a young girl playing in what was prominently a male sport, I suppose, was it? Men,
well,
women?
again, this is where it's slightly different. And I found it strange when I moved to Cardiff. So what would it be, 10 years after I started, it was very mixed. Like everything you did was a mixed game. So the women didn't have any leagues. So you'd have like mixed friendlies. And there also used to be a competitive league at that point in Llandrindod, which was called the Municipal League. And that was on a Tuesday and Thursday. So I was fortunate that my dad was very friendly with the Wheels in Prestine. So we hooked up into their team. So, from quite a young age, I had this good background of women's bowls telling me this is what you want to do to progress. This is how you progress. As well as having that male background, if you like, where I was playing in leagues with them and noticing there's different styles of play.
How forward thinking were Mid-Wales going back in
well,
them
they
years?
And there's
Because it's only taken this till this season, for EBG to allow women to play in the leagues.
That's it, and that's the irony that I found. I'd gone from a little country bumpkin place where everyone was equal. There was no men, no men, women, or whatever. And then when I came to Cardiff and everything was segregated of women did this, men did this, I just couldn't believe it, And the fact that we weren't allowed on greens at certain times. I remember when I first came to Cardiff, I joined Taftswell. I used to have so many arguments because how dare that man want to be on the rink when I wanted to play a competition, So it was such good grounding. And then the first year that I trialled for the under-25s, I got in, which I was really, really chuffed about.
Can I ask how old you were then?
I was 12 then.
12.
Yeah, so I remember thinking, or I think Anwen might have said to me actually at the time, she said, well, if you carry on doing this, you've got longer in this team than you actually are now in terms of your age. And I was like, oh God, yeah. But you don't think of that as a kid, do you? You just keep wanting to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
And what was that next thing for you then after that being 12 and playing for... Can you remember your first match?
To be honest, right, I can't remember my first match at all. I can remember the internationals, like the outside element of it, because it was in Saundersfoot and we were sharing a room, but the room wasn't just as it normally is, which is 2 people. It was 4 people. So you had all the sort of 15 and 16-year-olds. You could hear them in the evening, they were jumping about in the swimming pool or whatever. And my skip was Catherine Call, who is Sophie Davis's, I don't know what relation, but I can't work it out, but it's Sophie Davis's nan. It's her daughter. So that would be her auntie, wouldn't it? So, yeah, Sophie Davis's auntie, Catherine Call, at the time she was called, was my skip. So what she did is there was me and Helen Rhian Jones, who were quite young, and she tucked us into bed. And she said, right now, you've got to remember you've got a big game in the morning. So we were there all crunched up and all we could hear was this, frivolity outside, and we felt like we were missing out. But again, good standing of what the expectation when you're playing internationals is. So, good grounding.
Wow. And then from that from 12 under 25s, when did the under-18s come into play? Was that something you played in under-18s?
No, that was way, to be honest, I think way after me. Right, okay. I'm not actually sure when it came in. Okay.
So the next step for you then was obviously into county competitions and everything else.
Well, again, this is where, to be fair, my club, it was very much, this sounds awful to say, but because they were so competitive and so good, you almost had to wait for that good person to pass away for there to be a spot. Because if you can imagine, it's a small place, so there's only limited combinations. Yeah. But I was really lucky. There was a lady.
Oh, don't say somebody passed away.
No.
I was lucky.
There was this lady called Edwina Owen, and she basically took me under her wing. So much so, when we played, everyone used to say, "Oh, your mum this, your mum that," and then when my mum was there, I'd go, no, this is my mum actually, But she was marvellous. She took me in with her in all comps, everything. And again, Mid Wales as a county were really forward thinking. So rather than at the time, if you were under 25, you could forget playing for Wales seniors. No matter how good you were, you had to put the time in. You couldn't just rock up after 2 seasons and be in the seniors. That was an absolute no-no. And if you did happen to get in when you were under 25, that meant you were phenomenal. You know, that's
So
how
you
it
got
was.
in under 25, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did in indoors, but no, but you know what I mean. I did indoors, but that's not what I'm saying the story. I'm just meaning.
I'll say it for you. It's fine.
I'm just meaning that opportunities didn't come around, but I was lucky in that she saw something in me and she was willing to take me in, but so were the county as well. So you had to then play 3 years of county before you could get your county badge. So I remember I got my county badge at 15, which I was really chuffed with because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then when I moved to Cardiff again, for the first year or so, I didn't even get in the county team, you know, and again, that was a weird scenario for me because I'd been like almost picked all the time and then to not be picked, I was like, oh, what's happening here? This is a bit different. So, yeah.
Okay. So when did he come along in this process?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, was it bowls you met through bowls or something else?
Well, we did way
Well,
back, didn't we?
Yeah, years ago we knew each other in bowls, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then I had a time outdoors where I sort of like, I stopped playing county, took a backward step. In the time that my dad won well, and lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Probably people out there remember me a lot bigger than what I was now. And I went a lot into running, and Emma was doing running at the time.
Yeah.
And we realised we were running a 10k together, and we started chatting, and then literally from there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then we were like, all right, okay, so right, we're running like the race together. Didn't know at the time. And my dad played balls, and then literally we were looking at the fixtures. Like, oh God, we got a dad in like 2 weeks' time in a Corolla Shield up in Prestine. Right, got to try and forget that. Not even tell him that like I'm going. You know, so that was quite funny, like that. Yeah, so literally from running 10k race to.
Yeah.
What year was that? I bet ask Emma because you never remember, will you?
You probably remember. It's like 2000.
12.
Yeah, 11, 12 around
okay.
that time. Yeah.
Lovely, and it makes it so much easier when you both play bowls, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
it
you're
does.
obviously spending a lot of time.
Except when you play together.
Or when you play for completely different clubs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did the main Welsh, when you got into the ladies' main side, when did that all start?
So, again, this for me, it wasn't plain sailing. You know, I played in the under 25s for, as I just said, 13 years. I didn't miss a game. Played every year. Then it was after you'd done that, it was acceptable to put your name down for a trial. So I put my name down for a trial, and then I think 2 years maybe went by. Didn't have any trial. I felt like I was playing well enough to get a trial, but didn't get one. And then eventually in 2005, I got the trial, and I got in, and that was like, I was really relieved that I got in because I felt I deserved it. I felt I'd been working really hard, but it was almost like bittersweet because when I got in, 2 of my sort of like best club mates at the time, they didn't get in, and they had been getting in for the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So it's really hard when you're excited because you've got in, but you don't want to be too excited because you're basically saying almost, oh, I might have taken your place, you know. But I've got to say, it's the best thing that happened to me, really, and all the opportunities that I've had as a result, I can't complain, you know.
Do you know, only now I've opened up the question. Matthew's done a lot of preparing for this podcast,
I didn't.
But there's just so many questions I've got for you to be able to answer, you know. And so you both end up playing. The counties are different, than they with the women and the men. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
massive.
the women's county. We were both similar county area.
Yeah.
Emma's county would whoop our counties. I'm not afraid to say that. Your county's very strong. We went to go watch in Windsor.
Yeah.
We went up into Windsor because obviously Meg and Lloyd they were dating and Meg was playing and we had a weekend off. Our game got called off, so obviously me and Lloyd went up to watch them. And you just look at the names across, you know, because it was South Glam?
We're classed as Glamorgan.
Glamorgan.
Yeah.
Who were you playing in Windsor? I keep
West. It was West Glamorgan.
West.
Yeah.
And you just look both, you know, your county and West, it was just the names across that board. You were just like,
Yeah.
It's like every rink you look at, it was just Welsh international after Welsh international after, it was ridiculous. And you're just sitting there thinking, it's unbelievable.
So outdoor now, you obviously come to the end of the season, you play for
Cardiff. Yeah.
Yeah, and you obviously play for
Dennis.
I won't ask how your season's gone, Matt, because we'll be seeing you next year.
Yeah.
How's the season gone for you?
To be honest, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We play Evening League, which is our equivalent, if you like, of PGs. Normally, the team I'm in, because Cardiff has got quite a few women bowlers, so what we do is we tend to split off into two. Rather than us all being one, we split off into two, and we don't do it so that all the best are in one and the others are in the other. We look at the geography and say anyone who sort of like lives the Vale end of Cardiff is in one, and anyone who lives more, I don't know what you'd say, the Valley's end, I guess, they're all in another. So my team would normally get through to Evening League final. But this year we didn't do so well at the start of the season, so we lost by a point. So that was a bit of a downer.
Cardiff, when we say Cardiff, we're talking about, for my, it's now we're talking about Sophia
Gardens, yeah.
Yeah. So do how many of the women, out of curiosity, how many of the women play in PG1 for Cardiff?
For Cardiff. Oh, now you're touching a raw nerve on this one.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Not many.
Well,
No.
even Emma don't.
No,
I don't.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Emma plays at dinners.
Yeah.
Does she?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So we'll be
hang
seeing.
on.
Oh, hang on, no, that ain't happening.
That's not happening. That's not happening. I'm going to be watching, obviously, Brugenda got promotion. Dennis is unfortunately.
We're in the same league.
Yeah, we're in the same league. This is not happening. And actually, you'll be playing against one individual who really has told me was very influential. You were very influential on that individual in her career and get the first Welsh Cup, and that's Deb Taylor. She thinks the world of you.
Oh, that's kind.
So I know she'll look forward next year to playing against you.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
So I just find that's mad. I'm sorry, Cardiff. If I'm stepping on toes.
There are a few very strong.
You've got a, and I know people have got different viewpoints, but for me, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, the best thing that the EPG did was, I think when they made that decision to allow women to play in the EPG, they assisted Welsh ladies bowls to become better.
Yeah, definitely.
Because with all due respect to and I said this to the ladies' leagues, when you're playing in the EPG in Division 1 or Division 2, then you've got lots of the top clubs. I know there's a few missing. Pristine, probably from up with you are. You've got Tenby down in West Wales. There's lots of others. Some in Llanelli, Greg Merthyr. There's lots of good clubs around there. But it's allowing women who are at the top level of Welsh bowls to play against the best men. And that's got to be better for Welsh ladies bowls.
Yeah.
And I know Merthyr West End. I know the first couple of games, I think some of the ladies up in Merthyr West End had the same issue. They weren't being picked. They picked in the
twos, weren't they? Because I clocked that myself.
Yeah,
I'm very much for the
first thing we
bowls.
did was put the women into our team. It was just
we straight away we had women into our team.
Well, it made our team better. That's the reality to us. Is we were Division 4.
Yeah,
and
we were one of the people who proposed that with Harlequins. We proposed that women, get in as a club. It does shock me. It does shock me a little bit because I think it's really good for Welsh women's bowls playing at the top
and for me it stems back to that. When I said how I started, I didn't know any different to mixed bowls, and I know listening to other podcasts that you've had when you've talked about women's style of play. Yeah. Like I would say, well, I don't say this, other people say this to me, that my style of play is different. I've had someone say to me once, and they said, don't take this the wrong way now. They were talking about women, so then they said to me, you're not a woman, Emma, are you? And I sort of looked and they said, yeah, but you know what I mean? You play differently. Yeah. And I think that has been instilled on me from playing those mixed games. Because
at an early age.
Yeah, that's it,
Because I obviously went to speak to Matt when we were in Windsor, and I watched a little bit of your game, and I get the understanding of it. You seem to play confidently with weight when you need to.
Yeah.
And I think a few women who haven't had that experience, they kind of struggle to play that controlled weight, or even just weight in general,
Yeah.
that bigger weight, where you kind of don't have that. You're willing to play all of those different shots, and you
Yeah.
pull them off very well as well, which we'll kind of gloss over a little bit. But I get what but when you look at, there's other women now, especially, you talk about Amy, you talk about
Jazz,
Yeah.
you talk about your skips, your thirds and skips that are starting to play a lot more of that comfortably in that weight,
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
it's like a little bit more draw related, but it's not that anymore. Your top women's bowlers and the top women's bowlers, they seem to be able to play everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, then I try and dig myself out of the fertiliser, and we talk about indoors. So for going indoors now,
Yeah.
do you stay in Cardiff?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
You stay in Cardiff, and for you?
I don't really play indoors anymore.
I was going to say, I don't think.
No, I'll probably play once a fortnight, twice a fortnight.
But
in the evening leagues in Cardiff. But
okay.
that's
And what about the championship team then? Do you?
Yeah, I do play in the championship team.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's been mixed longer though, isn't it, indoor?
Yeah, when
Women
was
have
it?
been
Last
mixed
was it
No.
last year or the year before? Was the
I
first
would
year?
say 2 years.
I can't.
Go.
I can't
Well,
remember.
it was mixed when I started, and I'm
Yeah.
going into my third year.
Yeah. I was
Oh,
gonna say,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
It's got to be 2
it
3
might have been
years.
that
Could have been that year that I
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
So you're going to stay in Cardiff, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, I got to say last season in particular, I really enjoyed it. I was fortunate that when I had my first few games, I was on the mat, and I love being on the mat. If I'm not at the end, I want to be on the mat. You're sort of in control, but in a different way. So I love that. But then they were short 1 week, so I went to 3 to Mark Harding. And we had it was against Merthyr, and I think our objective was to lose by as little as we could. That's what our rink was like. But actually, we did really well. And I want to say we either won by the most or we were the second highest. So then for the last 3 games, I stayed with third to Mark. And it was just really good, really refreshing that, he sees the game quite like I do.
Yeah.
And also he was willing to listen to what I was saying, whereas sometimes, if people are a bit like, oh, well, no, I'm in charge. But
I have a lot of time for Mark. Well, obviously, I played with him my last county game this year, him and Joe Price.
Yeah.
I ended up having to play them in the pairs the first game. And again, they listen. They see the game quite different to most people. But he's one person that I think if you're going to be behind, he's not a bad person to be behind, to be fair, because he takes everything in. Like,
and I bring Mark on it because obviously Mark plays in the Vale county team. Yeah, and for me, it's I don't know Mark. I've said hello to him. I don't really know him particularly well. But what I do like about Mark is I know that he played from our club in the pairs. He played Kieran and young Adam
in the top club.
In the top club. And from that, when they were short on the final going up to Llanrwyd Wells, I think Mark must have spoke to somebody and said, look, this boy is a good little player. And they brought youngsters in.
Adam come in then, played an hour.
Which I
Yeah.
think is really good.
Yeah. On the mat for me then.
Definitely.
You got, we're going off track a bit, but the Vale as a county struggle a little bit, don't they?
Yeah. The Vale has definitely changed. I would say probably last couple of years it's become more, a lot of youngsters in it, a lot of fresh faces from what I remember playing years ago. And I think there's more opportunity in the Vale this year. Also that could stem from Prosser taking over team manager. I think his vision is he also wants that bit of experience, but he wants the youngsters to be playing.
I think he showed that this year,
He wants
though.
them in there.
I think he showed that this year. Like, obviously, the trial was a bit lackluster for us. Not many people showed up, and he did say, to be fair, like myself, right? I show up to the trial. No one knows who I am. It's my second year bowling, and I played well enough that he's picked me for the team.
Which I got to be honest, was rare, because I even went home and I said to him, there was a guy on our ring today. I said, Matthew, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
But I said, going on past experiences, I said he's not even going to get in.
Yeah.
And that's the way sometimes it's always been with bowls in trials, and that's just
Well, you got your
county-
people who just can't show up, and the people you can't leave out,
That's in
and that
general.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he did say at the trial, and he stuck to his word, and he did it
Yeah.
all, and then
Yeah.
the whole way through, like, you know.
The one thing I'm going to be, and is it controversial or is it just a vision from somebody outside, is I think it's hard for the Vale as a county, because if we look at most of those players playing in the EPG, if you look at Division 1 or 2, who from the county play in those top divisions?
Well, most
Yeah,
of ours does,
most-
because
yeah.
most of them are Ely Valley.
Ely Valley.
So, so if we got Ely Valley,
Yeah.
and after that, all due respect, it's coming down.
It's us then in Division 3.
It's
Yeah.
Not far off.
I think
Dennis
there's only probably.
and Bridgend,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a couple of others, but
Yeah.
lower level.
I think
So-
our county is made up of four, like, sort of clubs,
Four
four
or
five
five,
clubs
yeah.
maximum.
But it's always going to be difficult when you're playing the teams where you've got the players playing in Division 1 and 2
Yeah.
at a
Well,
constant
we didn't.
level.
We don't do too bad, mind. I mean, we did all right. Our last
Yeah.
game, we
I knew
dropped.
I'd upset them, but
No, yeah.
Love it.
it's an observation.
Yeah.
That's all
No,
I'm
I
saying.
I
It's a
agree.
good one.
I agree. But you look at our last game, right? We had how many people drop out within the last 2-3 days before? We had about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
We pulled in anyone and everyone we could. We even had
Oh.
out one of our
The president
the
played.
president come and
ring.
played in, right? And I think we only lost by 15 or
Yeah.
16 shots overall.
Yeah.
You know,
But there's
it's
a lot
not
of
that bad.
youngsters, good youngsters coming
There
through.
are
and
a
they-
lot of
definitely.
youngsters.
And
Yeah.
we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
So we've made a little observations for you, Glamorgan, because again, for us as a club,
Yeah.
and Dennis Powys, you know, our young girls coming through will play for
Yeah, Glamorgan.
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 Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I don't know if they talk about rechanging the boundaries a little bit with ladies' counties, because Glamorgan have been quite. However, you know, the West are very, you know, Laura Daniels, Sophie
West are
Beth.
Yeah.
The West is
Yeah.
just strong.
I think as well though it's a bit how do I put it, sometimes people see Glamorgan and they think, oh, that county's massive, you know, it's always going to be better than anyone else because of how big it is. But actually, if you looked at the boundaries of the man's game and that team, say, that played in the final, all of our team, apart from obviously the girls from Bridgend, which was one rink, the rest would be within the boundaries of South Glamorgan.
Yeah.
So we might be massive, but the nucleus of the better people, if you like,
Yeah,
are
they're
within
all
like
within,
2 or 3
yeah.
clubs.
But if the ladies' game split that way,
yeah,
the Vale of ladies
yes.
wouldn't be very good, would they?
I wouldn't say they would be, probably not as good, but then you've got people, you know, that don't necessarily get picked that are playing in Barriath. Now there's lots of people coming on from there, you know, Nicola Clark Squires is one of them.
Yeah.
I think, you know, she's definitely someone who's going to progress and go forward if she carries on doing what she's doing and practicing with Martin and whatever. So you've got a few people in there that potentially would be. Obviously, you've got you guys in municipal.
But they would lose a lot.
They would
They would lose a lot of experience.
Yes,
next to the
yes,
South Glamorgan
yes, they would.
side
Yeah,
of things. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's going to be an interesting discussion for the ladies to have.
Yeah, I
Because
think
you've dominated for quite a few years now. Is it 4, 5
I
times?
think
Four-
it's
four in a row, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 in a row. I think that we've done. Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, it's
Not
alright.
bad at
isn't
all, is it?
Yeah, it's good.
But but even if you look at it on even on paper, it's still. I think the fact that you dominated isn't the size of the county. I think it's just you've played well. Every game you've needed to play well.
Yeah, and I do think as well. There's for me. There's a lot about it. It's not. You're never a sum of all the parts. You
Yeah.
need to be part of a team and put together. And I'd say us as a group of it, you know, as a group, we are quite tight.
Yeah.
You know, we'll always have our little in jokes and whatever. And you know, like when you're saying about Deb, like I get on. We know Deb really, really well. She's not part of my club, so
No.
I don't see her day to day, but we still have those little jokes and banter. And to me, that really helps because you're better to have that than have what do I say? Sometimes Matt is bad, but I say, you know, you're better to have that than 24 divas. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you've got a 24 divas, they're trying to outdo
got a
each
clash,
other.
definitely.
Yeah, you know?
Because the other thing with they kind of score the game a little bit different to the men.
Yeah,
and there's a bit of a
it's a bit weird that.
for those of people who don't know it, they do it off of rink wins first, don't
Yeah, they
so
do.
if you win 4 rinks, it doesn't matter about the overall unless it's 3-3, right?
Well, the way I see it, I think it's 2 points for every rink win, but then you get 6 points if you win overall. So apparently that was done because the smaller counties were feeling that it was an unfair fight.
Yeah.
So at least if this point system for rinks came in, they were getting something out of the game, because they could have a situation, I guess, where two rinks won really highly, but then the others didn't do so well. So that still gave them the opportunity to win the game. I think that's why it started anyway.
Because counties just overall, right?
Oh, is it just?
It's just overall.
Yeah.
You win overall, you win.
Yeah.
Which, if it's a good thing,
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
I think that's when
doesn't
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in the county, you
'Cause
can
there's
get
8
one ring just fly away.
Because they've obviously just brought it down to 18 ends as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know about you guys, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
21 can be.
no,
Yeah.
me too.
No,
21 can
I
be.
think
But,
all games should be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, well, they were obviously talking about EPG now going down to potentially 18 ends. Well, they were also talked about changing the format of it, which I think would be a bit of a mistake. But 18 ends,
Yeah.
I think next year could be 18 ends.
I don't think that's a bad
I got to be
thing.
honest, I quite like to see outdoors go to 18 ends and no
Yeah.
dead ends. I think it makes the game more interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's better, the pairs have gone down to 18 ends.
Yeah.
And
Everything in the counties down to 18 ends now.
and pairs could go down to 3 wood as well, because it's just quicker.
Yeah.
Everything bad, the longest game, triples, still 18.
Yeah.
It takes forever and you're still out there and like,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
I think it'd be good time, and you've done the research on this, to have a little look at Emma's
Achievements? Oh, where do we start?
We've covered Matthew's. That was very short and sweet, Matt, I'm going to say. But
definitely.
I'm sure some of these, as we go on in time, you've been there, because I've met you by comments you put on originally on our Facebook page, and then we met indoors. And to be fair, you're always there watching and supporting.
As much as I can.
Well, because he's never playing in anything.
No,
That's right.
exactly. I'm always there.
And he's picking up some tips. That's all he did.
That's what it is. Yeah, I wouldn't ask who's the best player in the house because we all know the answer to that one.
That's Matt, that is. The once we played in the mixed singles, he beat me, and I was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "I wanted to get through. I wanted to get
don't worry.
through
We have to
that."
play each other in the Welsh mixed
Don't
singles.
worry,
First year it came out, we didn't
Never
speak.
play it again. Never play it again. And I put that scorecard up on the wall.
We did not speak for 2 hours.
No. Dad beat me last year in the club championship, and that's the only game we've ever played against each other. So, anyway,
Really?
yeah. So obviously, there's a few Welsh events that you have won over the years,
Yeah.
both indoor and outdoor. I haven't got them all here. I've done as much as I could find. The Welsh website isn't the easiest
You can
of
read them as well, look if you want.
the Welsh Bowls website isn't as generous of finding all of the
No, it's not
hard
good,
work
is it?
sometimes. Anyway, so first Welsh title came, what I found, 2009.
Yeah, that is right.
The Rinks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 2010, 2011, and 2012. Was that the same rink for all 4 years, or did you have
No, the to be honest, the 2009 was just one ring.
Okay.
And then the
Double rinks.
others are like where it's the same as the women's equivalent of the Carruthers, if
The
you
dub-
like.
yeah.
But we've just got 2 rings, so yeah. But my first one, I've got to say, was when I won it was fabulous. You know, like, I know people probably think, God, she's so big-headed when I say this, but you know, like when you think you're going to win a
Yeah.
Welsh title, you've always thought you're going to win one, but then you just never win one. So I got to say, when I won that first one was fantastic, and because of the fact I played with Judith Wason, had decided she was going to come back to bowls, so she came back to bowls. Jackie Jones was someone who has recently come back, so she played and then she stopped. And then, my absolute bezie, really, or one of my bezies in bowls is Claire Wyatt, but obviously she doesn't play anymore. And we'd had so many, like, close to winning indoors pairs, close to winning outdoors pairs, you know, so many near misses that when we won that, it was just so exciting. And yet the weird thing is, the people we beat in the final are actually my club mates now in Cardiff, you know, so they'd got there. But yeah, it was brilliant, I got to say.
Yeah, and you know, and obviously it just kind of stemmed from there then, really. I mean, the next, I'd say, looking at this, next 8-9 years were pretty good to you after that.
Yeah, they were. They were really good.
And obviously 2010, 2012, I messed up, was the double rink,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
so that is your 2 rinks from,
It's the same club.
playing
Yeah.
against then. 2014 came your first singles title.
Yeah.
So what was that like winning the singles?
It was. I always remember when I came off. It was a really brilliant game because I'd shot off to a little bit of a lead. Sarah was like 10 or something like that in front, and Carol Difford came right back to me, and I ended up winning, I think, 21-19. And I always remember people saying, and this is probably my dad that's instilled this into me, but I came off and people were like, yeah, it's a really good game, but it was close in the end, wasn't it? And I said, oh, I'm really pleased it was close. And someone said, what do you mean? I said, well, it means the other person really played hard as well. You know, if you win 21-3, the chances are that person hasn't turned up. But to me, it's probably like my dad. But if you win 21-19, you know you've had to play really well.
Yeah,
nine times out of 10
you've
to
had
get
to
it.
do something to win that game.
And everyone, when I came off and said that, people just thought I was crazy. But again, you know, so chuffed to bits to win that, and it was again so many times trying. And I think my first semi-final of that was when I was 15, and it took me so long. I can't remember how old I was, and I can't do the maths, but it felt like an age. After the first time of getting to the semi-final to finally winning, I was like, oh my god, how does it take this long? But that's because everyone, you know, competition's really tough, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially at the, you know, at your top level, regardless men or women, you know, you've always got to come up against someone that you know. Do I have any right in beating them? You could be at the, you know, you could be at the top of the game. You know, we talked about it with Carl, right? And Carl, obviously, for 12 months was at the top of the game.
Yeah.
But you've got to come up against someone, even if you feel like you're on top of the world, that will give you a little bit of like, this could be a lot closer than I want it to.
I can relate, and then it's all levels. I got to the club championships finals last year. It's only the club champ. It's not a Welsh singles. It's nothing.
Oh, but everything's important.
But I played against young Kieran, and on paper, Kieran was far better bowler than me. But I lost 21-20.
Should have won,
and I was happy.
Yes,
because I gave him a game.
Yeah,
and that's all I wanted to do was turn up.
Yeah,
and give him a game.
Yeah,
you got nervous
for him. And I was happy.
But the thing is, you know, you say that he got nervous. That happened to me once, and I always tell her this. I didn't.
Nervous,
I didn't tell her this story at the time, but I've told her subsequently. Now she doesn't really play as much as she did. But when I was a kid, well, you know, in my early teens, there used to be a tournament in Llandrindod. And it used to be 2 weeks. So you had a mixed singles, a women's singles, women's pairs. There may have even been 2 women's singles. I think there was. So this one year, I got to the final and I was playing Betty Morgan. Now, to me, she's just the pinnacle of plays every shot under the book, on the book, always wants to win, you know, shows people she wants to win, which is important. And I was playing her and I was winning 19-15, and in my head I remember thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna beat Betty Morgan. That's all I can remember thinking. Next thing you know, thanks Emma, game over, 21-19. But it is funny, like bowls is that thing where you just have to like keep pushing and not think about the end result. You just gotta get to it, and then, you know.
We have a guy like that in the club. His name's Julian Fear, and like you said, he could be 12-15 shots down, and you know you can't let up. You just can't let up. You've got to keep bowling, and you know it's you've got people like that, you know, even if they won't get disheartened by it. They're just going to keep doing their thing. They're going to keep playing the shots, and at some point they're going to pull it off, and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, where did this lead go?
One of the best we ever had for that was probably Jason Greenside, I would say.
Yeah,
I played like many a times with him, and he'd be onto you after 5 ends. Right, bury him. I don't care. Let's just bury him in 10 ends, and then we can have a laugh after. But he went out, and he wanted to bury you. And if he could do it 21-0, he would.
Yeah.
He would go out and just win at all costs. He was like, let's get it over and done with.
Funny enough, I'm going to have that this week.
We're going to go back to Emma in a second, though.
Yeah, we will. But, you know, you get those people, and, you know, we watched it. You know, my favourite game I think I've watched, Ken Taylor, obviously Deb's husband, played Ross in the Champion of Champions last year. First, you know, his first game back from holiday. Ken's like been out for a week, hasn't bowled yet. First wood, like again, Ross doesn't play at our green. Probably only I would have thought first or second time he's probably played in Bridgend. Comes into it, is within the try lines. He's first woods on the jack, his other 3 behind. And you're just like, I think he beat Ken 21-6. Ridiculous. And the way he won it was Ken put 3 woods on the jack. Ross had all of his woods behind, and he just gone bang, 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 jack back 4. Thank you very much. Shake hands, goodbye. And Ken didn't know what it did. You know, and you get people like that, but they just do it without even.
Naturally.
Yeah, it's so annoying because, like, you know, it's like you're trying.
I'm glad you mentioned Betty more because Betty was still trying to get you on the podcast. She won't come on the podcast. Anyway, back to Welsh Shingles in 2014, and we had a quick chat earlier on.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to tell the story on the podcast now because you want to tell it, so you can tell the
Long
story.
story short, we got pictures of a set of woods, and they were marked down for a young girl in our club, and they marked down using the World Championships 2015. So I was curious now, so we went back, and the lady's name was Anne Allen. And we talked about it before. And Anne is, she must have lived out in Spain, won the Spanish singles in 2014, and then went to Australia.
Yeah.
Because she messaged me yesterday and said, I was there with Jason Greenslade and Emma Woodcock. And I thought, bloody hell, what was that? And obviously we tried to work out, I'd done a bit of Googling last night and found out that she'd actually played for Spain. She lived out there for a while, I think, and now she's back living in Milford Haven. So it's an interesting little thing that you went out then after your 2014 Welsh Singles to, was it Adelaide?
No, I was on Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Yeah, so played in Helensvale.
Nice.
Oh, I absolutely.
Were you with her then?
Yeah,
I
he
went.
was.
Yeah.
Did you go?
I went.
Oh.
To be honest, we did make a like so
Yeah.
my mum and dad came, Matt came, so we went out for a few days before.
Prior.
So we went to Melbourne, we went to Sydney, then we went up to the Gold Coast, and then when the comp finished, we went to the Whitsundays, and then we had a night stay over, I think, in Hong Kong, and then came back. But I've got to say, for me, it just opened my eyes so much, but then probably made me not like this country for playing bowls as much, just because of the surfaces, because I recognised quite quickly that I absolutely love really fast greens.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you know, you could just sort of like go like that with your arm, and it was fantastic.
You should have come played Bridgend about 3 weeks ago because it was lightning. Couldn't stop the damn thing.
Was that artificial or was that?
No, it was grass, but the grass over there is a little bit different. But all I can say is, you know, when we've had this hot spell, so some of the grass, when you put your feet on it, it's been very like that.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like when you
The
step on
the
the
best
greens
way
over there. Yeah.
The best way I can describe American greens grass-wise, there is full coverage of grass, but it's brown.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
Australian.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so even though it looks burnt, it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the coverage of grass, and that's the difference in obviously our country. When our greens get fast, they get burnt, and the grass coverage goes.
Yeah.
So you can't really have them that extreme. Whereas like in the, you know, you see them in Australia, and it's just like it looks almost like I said, it's just dead, but it's not. It's just covered in brown grass.
Then 2015 Welsh Mixed Pairs.
Yeah, me and Matt, we finally won a mixed pairs after all the years of trying.
Yeah.
I'd had numerous mixed
You
pairs.
are a Welsh champion. Eh?
I was half expecting it to say someone else said, but
No, and I got to say, to be
we did
fair,
try, didn't we?
it was though I always remember because we'd been trying to win a mixed pairs for ages. Like I'd played with other people and I'd won, and it was becoming a bit of joke between us how we couldn't win one. And we were in Landod because it had started to be in Landod all the time then, and it was absolutely hammering down. And you know when their greens get really slimy, I couldn't really get the slime off my bowls. I got to say, I played like an absolute tool. But luckily, my husband was there and he played a stellar game, because if it
one of very few, is it?
if it was singles, there's no way I'd have had that mixed pairs. You know,
we didn't think we'd finish, did we?
No, it was awful.
Horrendous.
Yeah, it was the worst conditions ever. And we played Jeff Lewis and Karen Lewis, didn't we? And I think we were fortunate then that probably that was Karen's first experience of doing anything like that, which gave us that little bit more of an edge, you know, because I suppose we'd been there. I think it was. It was very close, I remember. But yeah, horrible conditions.
Welcome to Wales, eh?
Yeah.
We'll be having that all week this week.
Oh, God, yeah.
So then 2016, the Welsh Champion of Champions come after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which-
Oh, that's indoors. Yeah,
That
I was
was
trying
indoors.
to think
This
then.
is all.
Yeah.
This is just
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including a silver medal in the 2016 World Outdoor Bowls Championship in the triples.
Yeah.
Was that the triple you played with Anne with?
Yeah, so it was me, Anne Wynne and Kathy Pierce. Probably a scenario that I'll never forget. So I'd been selected as reserve for the World Championships. Me and Matt are away. So it was quite close to where my birthday is. So we were celebrating a slightly big-ish birthday, depending on which way you look at it. So we were there sunning ourselves in Thailand. And I suddenly looked at Matt and I went, this is weird. I've got an email from Jill Hughes. And then I think it was either 2 or 3 weeks before they were due to fly out. Unfortunately, Caroline Taylor's father had passed away. So I had an email to say, can you step into the breach? So obviously I wasn't going to say no to that. This is something that I'd wanted to do forever, really, since I was that 12-year-old practicing in Knighton and getting stories from, because, when I go back to the people that were there, one of them, Linda Parker, she'd played in the Commonwealth Games, she'd played in World Bowls, and I remember she won the Commonwealth Gold in Edinburgh, and we had a big party and everything in the club. So I'd been brought up thinking that was a reality, I know now that it's not a reality for everyone, but because of the way she spoke about things, I thought it was a reality for everyone if you were good, So, when I got the call, I just couldn't, obviously bad circumstances, but I couldn't believe it. And I thought, I've just got to make the most of any opportunity that I get now. And then, we managed to get the silver. So we played Australia in the final, which, was great, And again, the greens over there in New Zealand, they're a bit, sometimes, you'd bowl up and the wind would blow, and although your ball was in the green, in the rink, by the time the wind had blown, you'd be in the next rink and then taken off, and something else. It's one of those places that when you play, you've got to be content with that and not look for perfection, because if you look for perfection, you just drive yourself crazy, because the conditions are the greens are fast, but the wind affects the balls loads.
Didn't Ross play up there last year?
Yeah, I think.
And I noticed it was quite windy up there.
There's yellow balls.
Yeah. Okay, would you go from there, Matt?
Well, the last thing I had on here, and you can correct me if I've missed anything out or whatever, but what I had, you also were back in the Gold Coast in 2018.
Yeah.
For the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, it was. Which again was so lucky that it was in Australia.
I went again.
She's giving you some holidays, mate.
Yeah. And
where did he take you to dinner?
No, Division 3.
I'm Barry Athletic.
Oh, funny. But I couldn't have been more excited when it was in the Gold Coast, because obviously I'd been there for Champion of Champions, loved it, and if results would have gone a slightly different way in my group, I'd have got out of the group stage, and I just loved the greens. But I guess, things didn't quite go as we planned for them to go. But, I've had the experience, and that experience where you're there with all the other sports is just incredible. You actually, bowls is a sport, but you feel like a sports person because you're there with all the, athletes. So it's a great experience.
Yeah, and obviously for the people that have been, obviously we've had Ross on and they all said the same, as you just kind of feel like one big unit rather than just your separate sports. You have these other people, you make friends with someone of a different sport, they come watch your game, you go watch. So it does sound like, that kind of seems to be the vibe when going to the Commonwealth. Yeah. There's obviously been a few more wins along the way after that. I haven't got anything official in terms of Welsh events or anything like that, but county events, you obviously won the triples this year.
Yeah. Pleased about
with the
that
Gowans.
one. Yeah, with the Gowans. I want to say that's either the third or fourth time on the bounce, so that's nice as well.
Doesn't surprise me. That is a very strong triple.
It
so
is.
I
can't say much more than that. It is, but yeah, I enjoy county competitions. It's just, something a bit different as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so you ended up winning against Macintosh
Yeah.
in the final. They ended up beating our Bridgend ladies in the semis. Unfortunately, they kind of come back to win that one, and because it would have been, I think our ladies were looking forward to playing against you if they won, So,
from that little 12-year-old up in Knighton,
yeah,
any youngsters who are listening or watching this podcast, what would you tell them?
I think I'd say to them, if you've got the ambition to go all the way and do things, you've got to practice. If people think they can do this without practicing, then they're wrong. I'd also say don't run before you can walk. For me, I think I alluded to it before. I feel it's important to put your time in before, say, moving up to the back or whatever. I was taught that, again, in Knighton, there was a woman called Marjorie Evans who was the lead, and I was played second to her. And she kept me very grounded about how important that position is. Just because you're at the back doesn't mean you're more important than someone else. In fact, if you're at the front and you're laying the balls, it makes it easier for those at the back. So it's important to do that. And then also, if things probably don't work out as you expect them to, just remember that not everyone is going to like you or like your personality, and you can't change that. And that doesn't mean that you're not good at playing balls. It just means you don't fit into their way of thinking. Mm-hmm. But keep trying. And that's all I would say, really.
If you're good enough, they can't say no.
Yeah, you can just keep knocking on the door.
Yeah, that's it. Just keep trying.
Just keep trying. Yeah. Don't give in.
No.
Don't give in.
If you want it enough,
So I am going to talk about it now, and I know, obviously, this year...
Well, we talk about our 50th cap. We've got it there.
Well, 50th cap was obviously a big one.
Well, it was a long time ago, and it was 6 years, so there must have been more after that anyway. You had 50 caps. How many did you have?
I think I had I want to say I had 68, something like that. Is that outside you're on about?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just copied off what
I think
they said on Facebook.
I think it's 68, something like that. Which again, pleased about getting that.
Yeah.
And I'm also blowing my own trumpet now, but I'm also pleased as well because I've got 50 inside. So the fact I've got 50 inside and outside, for me, again, was a big tick,
Listen, to represent your country just once, just once is a huge achievement. To have done it over 100 times, indoor and outdoor, is a phenomenal treatment. You should be, and I'm sure all of Knighton, I'm sure you've got a little, have you got a picture up in Knighton Bowls Club?
I have, from when I was 13. It's hilarious. I think you saw it, didn't
white hat.
Yeah.
Little white blazer.
Yeah, and the full-on little ties.
Yeah. Things have moved on around.
I know they have. Yeah.
No, but you should be very proud of yourself.
Well, and I'm gonna make you feel a little bit old because I am gonna mention it. First cap we got recorded 1989.
Yeah, that's it.
And obviously up to 2024. Yeah. And you've decided to retire this year.
Yeah.
From international bowls.
Yeah, I think for me, the time was just right. I think, I alluded to it before, but having had that period where I went to Australia quite a lot, that just having that speed of the green, having the swinginess of the green, and I just feel like a lot of it is to do with councils not having money and people in general, private clubs and whatever not having money.
We don't have the weather too much for it.
No, but it just feels like in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so that after COVID really, the condition of the greens have just gone quite difficult. Well,
you'll enjoy coming down to Bridgend. I will toot Bridgend's horn. The green in Bridgend, I think you will enjoy.
Good,
because it is. We've done hard work and it's played quick, and people who have played on it this year have really enjoyed playing on it. So hopefully, because obviously from today onwards, when the indoor season, we will be seeing each other a few times.
Yeah,
obviously playing Cardiff, you'll be playing Port Talbot, and obviously vice versa. And then obviously if you are playing for Dinas on Saturdays next year, we'll be seeing you twice then.
Yeah.
Which is...
I'm not happy. You play for Dinas, man. That's not happening. Do you want to finish with some driving
We
questions.
can finish with. We had a few more questions, but I've enjoyed listening to all the stories. That we will cut a few of those out because they're only boring ones. They're only about 10 minutes.
I did say once I started talking, you'd probably need a
No,
part
Well,
two.
I get
you know,
we could listen. We could. This is what the podcast's about. We
Yeah.
could listen to people's stories for
Yeah.
hours. man.
I could sit here and try to talk to you and say, would you ever consider not retiring from international bowls? I think you've just got so much still to offer, youngster and experience to offer youngsters coming through, you know. So, but
no, that's
a
fine.
decision
We'll,
for
in
you
a
as
couple of years' time, we'll get him to Bridgend. It's all right.